Are we live?
I mean,
Okay.
da-da-da.
I need to make
We
sure
need,
that
like,
this is
an
not.
intro song.
Am I clipping? Am I good? Okay. Yeah, we actually do need an intro. That'd be pretty cool. We
Yeah.
we could probably make one. Pretty simply, just a boom. You know, the ShanksCast.
Bring it back.
Well, hello everybody. Sorry if I look sweaty or nasty. I've been fist fighting my BMW for the past hour and a half. About to just jump it off of a cliff. But it's pretty cool. Thank you guys for watching the first couple episodes. I mean, the turnout's been pretty sick.
Yeah,
we weren't
got
expecting
great
anything
feedback.
weren't expecting anything crazy out of it. But I mean, it's pretty cool that we can just sit here and I don't know. It's fun to sit here and talk. Like we said, that she and I we'll oftentimes just have couch time or sit by the campfire or something. We'll just chat about things, and we just have a lot of things to say. So I think I had a Q&A on my Instagram, and I asked about topics, and I'm going to be honest, I think I just forgot to check.
Well, I know on Spotify we have a Q&A as well. And
Okay.
there's been a few questions.
Okay, cool.
So, but if anything, if you're watching on YouTube, leave them in the comments below. And I will look over them because Evan will probably forget.
Yes, yeah, that is true. Well, cool. We have a bunch of different topics. I think we're just kind of cold turkey right now. And I don't know, babe, do you have like a certain one that... There's some that I think we should probably still maybe hold off on, but...
Yeah, I think of two that we need to hold off on.
Okay. You wanna show me some of the ones that you have?
So we could do like our dynamic of working together, becoming parents.
Parents and race cars, like that sort of thing?
Yeah.
I think a
parents
lot of
in this
people...
lifestyle.
I think a lot of people... I have a lot of people... Well, I don't know. So I feel like that's two separate conversations because we could talk about our relationship because like dating and figuring out, you know, or at least our lifestyle is there's a lot to say about it. And then being parents and that's a whole nother conversation. So I think a lot of people, I mean, I know since the beginning, I mean, I think we've been probably the only, this is not to say in a bad way, but I think we've been really the most consistent couple in the automotive world for the long time, at least like publicly. Like you and I have been together, almost 14 years this next week?
Next week is 12.
12
years.
I don't know. It's just time. So, but I mean, we've been making videos together. I think as soon as we got engaged, which was,
I mean, even before that, we made
9
some
years ago or
videos,
something. Yeah, but I didn't make much with you until we were engaged because I wanted to, you know, keep that as a thing. But I know we've had a ton of questions ever since, like, you know, I made How to Date a Car Guy, that video back in the day. We made the top 10 things to know about car people. So I don't know, it might be kind of cool to shed some light on the legit, like real truth about, you know, how do you balance a hobby like this, but also still maintain a relationship.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I love it. Let's do it.
Do you have anything on this particular topic before? Because I could talk about my perspective on this all day long, but do you have anything that comes to mind?
I'll probably just jump in whenever things come up.
So here's first and foremost, I think the most important thing is a relationship will never stop you from loving what you love.
It shouldn't.
No, and it won't if it's really, but
Yeah.
the thing is though, you gotta at some point weigh out what's more important to me. But I think the most important thing that because even this is even applicable to our girls, is they're always going to come first.
Yeah.
And at the end of the line, your hobby is literally a tangible, just object. You know, it's just like for me, it's just a car at the end of the day. You know, and you have feelings, you know, a life. Everything that I do and say affects you. Yeah. And so you I don't know. You just got to grow up a little bit and understand that life's not about you. And if you're not ready to include somebody else into your life, then you're just not ready for a relationship. But I think a lot of people probably just aren't ready for a relationship. So if you have any advice, I think we got tons. My mind's kind of everywhere because I have so many things. I don't even know where to start with this topic. I have so many things to say about it, but man, I tell you what, I know a lot of people, I think the first question is, well, okay, so your lifestyle change. Actually, you know what, I'll even go further, but I'll go before that. I think ultimately it comes down to people being in relationships for the wrong reason. Yeah. A lot of people go in because they're lonely. And my philosophy has always been, if you haven't figured yourself out, if you can't be happy alone, if you're not responsible alone, then you're not ready to bring somebody else along with you. Because if you haven't figured yourself out, I mean, you don't have to be perfect, but like, if you're miserable alone,
people are going to be miserable.
People are going to be miserable with you, and you are going to continue to drag people along with you. So I think that was kind of the thing, and I was very solid in my faith, my personality, what I wanted in life. Like, I already had all that figured out, even though we met in high school.
Yeah.
I already knew all that stuff.
Well, and my biggest pet peeve is when people are like, I'm going to find somebody that completes me. And I'm like, no, you should be complete by yourself. I feel like we complement each other. I like the word compliment over complete. But yeah, it's like, and it's really hard, especially dating young. We have gone through a lot. We grew up a lot. And so there is that weird dynamic where you're still finding yourself out.
A lot of people are trying to find other people to fill their voids.
Yeah.
But you have to fill the voids yourself before you seek somebody else out, because they're not going to do that. They're just going to highlight the void in your life that you now have to face. So
that goes for 16-year-olds or 35-year-olds. I mean, any age and stage.
Yeah, there's some single 45, 50-year-olds out there that have never learned the lesson of you got to figure yourself out first.
Yeah.
And that's not to, slight anybody, but it's true. It's very true. And I think it cannot be said enough. Like, you got to understand and figure yourself out. Go to therapy before your the girlfriend that you meet at the bar is not your therapist. Yeah. She's just as lost as you.
Yeah.
He's just as lost as you, the boyfriend you meet at the bar. You got to figure it out.
Well, and I think if you don't, then that's when codependence comes in, and like if I wasn't secure in who I was as me, then I would put way too much worth and value on how you talk to me, which like that is important and stuff, but it's like, codependence is really a slippery slope in relationships.
It's hard, and it's something you definitely have to practice. But that's, I guess, the thing I want to lead off with.
Go for it.
I think it's interesting because obviously doing what I do, I mean, it didn't always work out. I mean, it's still, there's months where it does and it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do, to balance, especially, I mean, really, like, it comes down to just owning a business, because that's really what this is. But at the beginning, you didn't necessarily see my vision in what I wanted for myself.
Yeah.
Or where I was going. I know that you thought that cars were a bit ridiculous.
A little bit.
But you always told people that...
I was embarrassed that it was loud cars. And obnoxious.
The thing is, I loved her enough to take my time and include her in my hobby.
And I loved you enough that I wanted to put in the effort to be in your hobby.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are really quick to be like, "Oh, you don't like what I'm doing, then screw you."
Yeah.
Or you don't want to be you don't want to be a part of my lifestyle and what I'm doing. Well, I'm not going to change for you, or I'm not going to. And you don't necessarily have to change for anybody. But again, if you want to be with somebody, you got to adapt.
There's give and take. Like, you can't expect me to drop everything to conform to your lifestyle, just like I can't expect you to drop everything to conform to my lifestyle.
I'm just playing.
I
definitely did. Man, I could have been.
I do look back, and some of the stuff that's happened over the years, I'm like, I was like really insecure, and I do feel like I held you back on some things.
But I mean, that's okay. I mean, I'm not going to resent you for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that again, like, I love you enough to just not, like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, again, all this is just, it's a fart in the wind. Like, it's just cars.
Yeah.
That, if an earthquake happens or a tornado comes, all this is gone.
Somebody could steal it. I mean,
it's all just tangible things. It's just, it can steal, it can blow up, it can catch fire, it can, it's all just things, material things that can literally dissolve into the earth back to where they came from.
Yeah.
And so the more important thing is the intangible things. I mean, obviously, touch, but like, the relationship. Not something you can buy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so cool. And I think it's also why all these older, let's say like older men, older women in their 60s, 70s, like, I think some of the wisest people that I know have been married for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Because you learn so much patience.
Yeah.
You learn how to communicate. You learn what life is really worth, you know?
What's important.
If you don't have family, then what, like, I mean, honestly, I can't honestly think of things more important than, like, the girls.
Yeah.
And us. But, like, yeah. So that's how I always sort of saw it. I mean, it's hard because, like, I know how it goes. I'd love to be able to drop as much money as I want to.
You've always told me, like, when we've talked about housing and stuff like that, you're like, I want the biggest garage ever and, like, the smallest little apartment attached to the garage, and I'm happy.
I could live in probably 100 square foot room.
Yeah.
And then have a shop this size. Like, I could be in a corner over there, and I just walk out every day and just be like, all right,
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
Got my sim, got my cars, got my tools. As long as I got, like, a PC and, you know, a bed in there, somewhere to poop. That's it, you know?
Yeah.
Little kitchen. Yeah, I could just get one of those little, yeah. So, I mean, I've always been a very simplistic, but, you know, again, that's how it is. Like, you live with a woman. She's like, well, you know, I want to have this nice kitchen. And eventually you're like, okay, a nice kitchen's kind of cool. But, yeah, when I was in high school, I was like, dude, that's so stupid. Why do you need a good kitchen? Why do you need this and that?
Why do you need a dining room table?
But it's a dynamic. And I think that's what's cool about being married, married in particular, because, like, you know, when you're just dating, there's no, like, you know, there's nothing on the table. You know, you've never solidified anything, and I don't care what anybody says. I'll argue with you on that all day long.
Yeah.
Like, when you're married,
there's something
you can't go back, and so it's like you know, for us, like, divorce isn't an option. That's not even a thing. It's not a thing. So it's like, you know, well, we made this decision. We got to live with it. So we now have to learn each other so well that we don't, that we avoid these mistakes or avoid these bad conversations. You name it in the future. Man, I'm just looking at my BMW right now, so pissed off.
I was saying, you pissed off.
I'm ready to go kick it off the thing, guys. This is I'm the ADD time, but I just started it up for the first time after fixing all the things because my supercharger blew my water pump apart, and it started making a knocking. I think it's belt flap. RK Tunes, he's like, that's not a good sound, and I was like, oh, that's really sick.
That's not a good thing to say.
So yeah, and I literally stopped that, and I was like, I don't want to be in a bad mood for this podcast, but now I'm sitting there looking at my dang BMW, and I'm like, freaking spots. Man, yeah, but I need to change pants if I have to start that thing up again and it makes a noise. That's what I need.
Going back to specifically the dynamic, well, again, it could be applied to any hobby, but, you know, the dating dynamic and the relationship dynamic of cars and time-consuming hobbies and things like that, it's like, from my perspective, what's worked out so well is I want to be in your hobby. Yeah.
But it wasn't always like that.
It wasn't always like that. I
think that's what people like. This kind of gives people hope, but I think it's really important to be transparent that, like, there was a long time.
There were a lot of car meets. I had a really sour mood, and I was like, why are we here? Or, this is
not
early,
even that, but
late.
I mean, there was a long road to where you, like, to gaining your understanding of what I was doing, why I was doing it.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to be transparent that not everything was happy-go-lucky. And I hate that time is it's so easy to condense time.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, it's like you look at somebody who's 40 and achieved so much, or 40 years old. They could easily go back and talk about, you know, the struggles they've had in their life, but, like, they're 40 years old, they probably had 4, 5, 6, maybe years of insane, intense struggle. And those 4, 5, 6 years were probably terrible, but now they can go back and just be like, well, I learned this.
Yeah.
It's like it was a long time before we were on a similar page, same page. Mm-hmm. And yeah, but I mean, at the same time too, something that came to mind a second ago was, I think when you want to love somebody, because you have to want to love somebody, you have to want the relationship.
It's a choice, yeah.
You have to be willing to, you do have to be willing to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
And, you know, depending on how much you make, you know, that depends on the relationship and what the needs are. I think one of the things we learned, not even growing up in church, but our, you know, premarital counselor was see a need, meet a need.
Yeah.
And so, you know, your needs, especially, you know, especially after we became married, when we became one, your needs became mine. Mm-hmm. And so, but even before dating, I mean, I knew the concept of that. And so it was like, Listen, if your girl needs some attention, if you've been to car meets or you've been hanging out with the boys every single night for the week, it's like, look at her once a week and be like, what could I do for you?
Yeah.
What have I not
far.
What have I neglected this week? Or I don't know. I think a lot of, especially with this culture right now, there's so much selfishness, and I think selflessness is. I mean, for the most part, it's gone.
Yeah.
And a lot of people. It's just a concept that people just don't understand because.
Well, and you have to learn it too. Like, I don't want to just say, oh, you're like, there's no selfless people. It's something that I feel like through mistakes that we've made or whatever it might be, it's like, oh, I made a decision to hang out with so-and-so instead of my boyfriend or husband, and that hurt his feelings. Like, there's going to be moments like that, and that's the process of learning selflessness. So it's not like, well, everybody's selfish and they can't be selfless.
It's hard. This is one of those, man, this is probably one of those concepts or these talks that I wish we kind of had somebody here talking and asking us some questions because we just sit here and chat about it all day long. But this is a good thing to maybe come back to at a, like maybe we host a younger car influencer or something, and they're asking us about their lives. But it's easy to say in concept and it's easy to sit here and talk about it. But, I think there's obviously very specific scenarios out there that, that affect you. But I think the bottom line is really like, how badly do you want the relationship? If I can summarize this into one thing to try and help you guys as best as possible is, first off, stop wasting your time. My philosophy always, like I had 2 girlfriends growing up total.
Yeah.
One of them, I just, first one was just like, I was kind of bored. I was like in high school, but I always thought to myself, if I'm not planning on marrying said person, or if I'm not, I mean, that really was my honest, well, if I'm not planning
that's the goal of dating.
If I'm not planning on spending the rest of my life with this person, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
And that can be debated. I know that goes a bunch of different ways and that's viewed differently, but for me, that's how it was. And so, ultimately, I think you need to be dating for the right reason. If you're not, then I think that's just going to show. And you're going to continue to have failed relationships, and you're going to be 35 years old and be like, well, I've had a bunch of one-night stands and a bunch of girlfriends or boyfriends, whatever it is, and I'm now 35. None of my relationship lasted longer than 3 months. Well, statistically, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
You probably should have better motives. And
What's the common denominator? It's you.
Right. And I think a lot of people just don't like.
They never want to say that they're the problem.
It's analytics, but I mean, and that's the thing too. You're gonna be the problem at some point in the relationship, but you have to be willing to work on it. Yeah. So yeah, in any case, like whether it's any hobby, dude. I mean, it doesn't matter how expensive. Like I like guns, guitars, cars, PCs. Like I have the most expensive, ridiculous hobbies ever. But at some point you got to drop the selfishness and just think like, how can I use this money? How can I use my time differently or to love said person? Or
to take that in a different direction, it's how, and you've done good at this, it's how can I include...
I do good at everything.
Okay, humility. Let's talk about humility next. No, anyway.
I don't need that.
No, but you've done really good at how can I include Victoria in this, where I think a lot of times it's like, no, this is my guy time, I'm wrenching on the car, or we're playing video games, or we're going to go out to the range, and you've made it really easy for me to say like, hey, I mean, sometimes it is just like a guy's trip, but sometimes it's like...
Honestly though, I'm going to say this, not even a hot take, but guys and girls, when you get married, the guy and girl time stops.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Like, when you get married, there shouldn't be girls' nights all the time anymore.
I don't understand. Because I'm like, sorry.
And I have a bunch of friends. I was out in college. I was at somebody's house having fun at somebody's shop every single day.
Yeah.
And I could still do that today. But it's like, when you get married and you are committed to somebody else, that is now your best friend. That is now your person. Yeah. You want to go out with them.
You need girl time, but it's not like...
well, that's the thing. They can come to your house. Like I'll go, I'll go to the range or something. I mean, rarely, but I'll spend time with my guys and I play PC with them and stuff like that. I play games, but it's like, dude, the girls' nights out, boys' nights out. Like, you know, it's
no. What I don't get is when they go on vacation, like girls' trips, and I'm like, if I go on vacation, I want you to come with me.
Yeah, right. As a married person, that's weird.
I think it's really weird when it's like
No,
guys
no,
going on a
it is
trip.
weird. It is weird.
Okay.
It is weird.
That's probably why we work so well.
It is weird. It's just like I mean, but that's the thing. It's married too, and I think people just don't understand marriage. So I'm specifically talking about marriage. You know, if you're still dating, you have as much fun as you need to, you know, without sacrificing the other party.
Yeah, I was like that. It
you
sounds
know,
weird.
you know what you know what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's be prepared. Like in a good way though. Like and if I'll say this too. If that thought scares you, then you're not with the right person.
Or you're not ready to.
Or you're just not ready. I don't think anybody's like ready though. You have to ready yourself.
That's true. Well, and I think
a
if you're
lot
the
of
right
people
person,
wait so. I mean, it's the same thing with having kids.
True.
I'm gonna stop you here.
Yeah.
You're never gonna be ready, but it's part of life.
Yeah.
We're called to be fruitful and multiply. We're called to marry the woman of our youth.
Yeah.
You know,
and no, I think you're a good point. Like,
be a man.
It's all about the person.
Figure your stuff out.
Yeah.
Marry that woman and stop messing around, dude.
Yeah. I don't understand these. Let's date for.
And
10
listen,
years.
guys. The hot takes here, but it is what it
Don't
is.
hate
A lot of
us
this,
for
a lot of this stuff is based in it's biblical.
Well, and there's not even biblical, but like we've seen statistics of like even though it is biblical, I think like New York Times has all these posts of cohabitating and like how it's terrible for long-term relationships.
It has been proven, and we can pull up the statistics if you want, or you want to Google it or something, but like. They have said cohabitation before marriage, and it's like it's a high statistic. I want to say it's like in the 60s.
It was crazy.
60-something% ends up in divorce just because you cohabit. Cohabit. What is the word? Cohabitate?
Yeah, cohabitate. Now
I don't know. We didn't live with each other before marriage. Like we literally waited for everything.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I missed out on anything. Like it is what it is. I don't know. And guys, I want to say, if you're being unsettled by any of the stuff that we're saying, that might be a movement inside of you to act differently.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for you to start typing on the keyboard and prove yourself right.
It's not like a shameful thing.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything to shame anybody here. And I am, just because there are so many people asking how we do it, I'm telling our dynamic and then using statistics, whatever. And also using... just the wisdom that I've known from even friends over the years. Are you pulling it up? I know Josh.
I'm looking at Josh's stuff.
What did he find?
Wall Street Journal.
Oh, it was Wall Street Journal.
They have an essay called "Too Risky to Wed in Your 20s, Not If You Avoid Cohabitating First," and like there's all kinds of data in that one.
That's Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal.
These
are all very secular.
Very secular, like.
Yeah.
They will blatantly shame
Americans
Christianity.
who cohabitate before marriage are less likely to be happily married and more likely to break up.
Again, I really want to be clear here that like it's hard. No.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's really hard to say this without coming across as if we're like shaming you for your choices and stuff. I don't care what you've done. Not judging.
No, not at all.
And I want to just really clear the air, especially with like the hot topics like this. I want to be very clear that this is in no way, shape, or form like trying to shame anybody out there for any decision.
Yeah. How
you've lived. It is what it is. Like if you've done something, I'm not hating on you. I'm not judging you. Neither of us are.
Love you just as much.
Again, we are just approaching this as advice givers
because we get asked about it a lot. They're like, how do you get
I just want to be very clear. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but if your feelings are hurt, that might be a sign to think about some stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just it. And we don't live a perfect life. I want to say very clearly.
Everybody has their own problems.
Yeah, dude. Like I think that's the beauty of relationships, honestly. I think people are so scared to get to the point I think a lot of relationships fail because you get to the first big argument. I mean, that's literally a milestone for some people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we finally had our first big argument.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna have big arguments for really stupid stuff too.
And I heard if you're not arguing, then that should also be a red flag that somebody's not saying something.
Yeah, but it's definitely it's a balance. It's a dynamic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be arguing all the time. That's toxic. One of you But yeah, and also the need to be correct all the time. You got to drop that.
Ooh, so I love this. And this is, I feel like, saved us a lot in arguments. And I feel like there's a difference between arguing and like fighting. We're talking about like arguing. But fight for the relationship, don't fight to be right. That I've played that in my head a lot, and I'm like, that saved so many things. A lot of people have
a real problem with that.
Yeah.
It's just like a power trip thing. And the goal should never, for me, whenever we have an argument of any sort, my goal is never to be correct, even though I always am. Okay. My goal is never to be correct. It's to make sure that the argument is resolved.
Yeah.
Period.
When it's in the heat of the moment, that's hard to do. Not to be like, you said, and I said, and you said, and I said, and I'm right. But
yeah, and stop pointing fingers. But it's honestly the more foothold you give the devil, the more ways you give the devil to grab your ankles
and to push
between you, the easier it is to fall apart.
Oh yeah.
And so resolve things, and I'm good at it. So like it comes naturally for me because I like to resolve things in any case. Like it doesn't matter who it is with. Yeah. Like I hate beef. That's why I'd never have beef with anybody. It's why I honestly don't say half the things that I could say because like it's just the tension's not worth it.
Drama's not worth it.
But really, like I think a lot of people should really make sure that they get better at resolving things rather than winning.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen over the years, whether it's friends, friends, dating, family, you disagree or we have conflict, cut off, and that's so not healthy.
That's just immature. Once you get that bond, once you get the trust, trust is the biggest thing.
Oh, 100%.
Then it's like, okay, that's how, all this happens.
Yeah.
You've learned to trust me with my finances enough to where, even... I mean, I know you deal with the finances anyways. So I know you're watching everything I spend, but it's like you now trust me because I at least know what I'm doing. Yeah. Or I have good intent, or I have a plan with everything that I spend.
Well, and your character says a lot. Where like whether you're going out of town or like whatever it might be, it's like I trust you. If I trust you with my life, and I trust you with. I'm going to say my daughters, because I mean, they're our daughters, but like, if I trust you with my kids and my life, like, I trust you with anything. Mm-hmm. But
I think that's kind of the root of everything. I don't know if there's necessarily any, like, much more to say about it unless you have any sort of more insight.
I just want to give, again, encouragement that just because things are hard or it seems like you might be single forever, like, again, we're coming up on 12 years. It was not always easy. There's a lot of learning, whether we're talking about the relationship side or the hobby side. But like now I'm to the point where we were talking about this a few weeks ago, where I legit have gone through like this depressive stage of, man, I can't be in the shop all the time with you anymore. Mm-hmm. And like I've fallen in love with things that you love so much. Mm-hmm. And now that I can't always do it or have the same lifestyle that I did before kids, I'm like, man, I miss that. So, but it wasn't always like that. That's what I want to say.
And if you love them enough, make them a part of it. Yeah. Make them feel included. And I think that's the most important advice in retrospect and in the very short condensed version.
Yeah.
And honestly, this 30 minutes we've talked, I don't think we could have said I think we could have said way more. And there's so many more aspects of marriage that we could talk on. But I mean, I think especially pertaining to how do I get, I've had, straight up, the question is, how do I get my girlfriend to shut up and let me do my thing? It's like, well.
Red flag.
Yeah. Figure yourself out, be mature, figure out what their needs are. And if you don't care what their needs are, then you don't need to be in a relationship. Figure yourself out first. Yeah. Dial your own life in as best as you can to where at least you're not leaning on somebody else, depending on somebody else to make yourself happy. If you can't be happy alone, then you can't be happy with two people.
Yeah.
But that's it. I think that's my best words I could give you after. What was it, 12? You said 12 years now?
Yeah.
Of being together.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah, I mean, 12 years, just us, no breaks. We did long distance for 3 years. I mean, we've had our testimony is interesting for sure, but I think, we have the advice to, if anybody ever has any questions for us, I mean, we're not counselors by any means, but we love to help you guys. We've been through a lot. Yeah. And I think both of us have the heart to reach out and help if we need to. We can't sit there and just counsel you constantly, but if you have any questions, we can maybe make a podcast about it, make some posts about it. So
yeah, and again, like anything we ever say, we mean it in the most love. We don't mean shame.
Yeah, and I say a lot of things that trigger a lot of people, and I never mean it in a bad way, but it just gets perceived that way. So yeah,
but it's like, if I have the secret to, and I mean I don't, but it's like if I have something that could help your relationship, but I'm afraid to hurt your feelings. So I'm not going to say it. Like, I don't know. That's
selfish.
It is selfish.
Yeah.
So.
They'll hate you. I mean, it's clear that people don't like you for saying the right things. That people don't like what they don't want to hear. So it is what it is.
Exactly.
But we want to thank you guys for tuning into this one. That's I guess it's going to wrap up this episode. We want to thank you guys for watching and listening. So Spotify's, I mean, that's been pretty cool. I know you guys are listening on drives and stuff like that.
Still waiting on Apple. It takes a lot longer to get approved.
Apple's interesting. We might have it resolved by the time this is out, potentially.
Hopefully.
But our schedule is every Monday. We're dropping something. And I guess we have a long list of things to chat about. Mm-hmm. But if you have any recommendations, we're always here for that. If you guys do feel the need to support us by any means, we do have the sponsors and stuff. That helps out a bunch, but we have our brand, a clothing brand, 5-3 Supply. We don't currently have, I mean, we've not gotten to the point to where we're asking directly for money, like Patreon or whatever, but, so the only thing that we offer, the only outlet for that to support is 5-3 Supply. So we ask that if you want to, check out our website and grab some merchandise. But other than that, thank you for watching our podcast, my YouTube videos, following our Instagrams and stuff. And we just love you so much. What?
I love you.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great day, everybody.